Someone has mixed an Amazing Spider-Man in with the Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man series. This will not stand.
Pardon me, but I wish to tender a serious cash offer for this stack of water-damaged little Lulus.
A, that is not water, it is Diet Mr. Pibb. And B, Ooh.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about Marvel, and I got no love for their business practice and the way that they treat their retail partners. But, DC's doing a lot of stuff now. We got to talk about the wedding. The ultimate screw job. Although in the end they did end up having to make that comic returnable, but
yeah,
they encouraged everyone to throw these massive wedding parties and buy cakes and stuff. Of course, they weren't reimbursing you; it was all out of pocket. For these big wedding parties, you buy all the covers and everything. And then 2 days before the comic's gonna drop, they broke the news that they're not getting married, and it basically spoiled the entire comic book. It ruined everyone's events.
Yeah, we ordered a wedding cake, and it was a 3-tiered cake, and it wasn't expensive. I got it at Walmart, and I just ordered it through Walmart. I think it was still a $50 cake, if $50 or $60 cake, something like it. Anyway, and my wife went and she got the figures for Batman and Catwoman, and all that kind of stuff. We had them on top of the cake, and I paid for my staff to be there for this huge event, and they wore like the t-shirts that looked like tuxedos so that they could look like ushers, and it was just kind of cute, it was just kind of funny stuff. And we had like the black and pink, bunting, around the shop and stuff like that. And we had like we had like the table with the little mints and stuff like that on them, and the little handouts for Batman, the wedding issue and all that kind of stuff. And, we had little plates, little Batman plates, and people could get pieces of cake and stuff like that. And punch, we made the crappy fruit punch, with ginger ale in it. And, this was all great and wonderful. And then the Sunday before, it was released in the Hollywood Reporter that the wedding wasn't going to really happen. And the feeling, I'd already paid all the money. I knew what was going to happen because I already had customers coming in on Monday and Tuesday saying, I don't want this. Look, did you see what this came out in the Hollywood Reporter? Did you see this? This is all a scam. And I was like, no. I wanted to not believe it because I had reassurances. I had assurances from DC. There was binding agreements. This was going to happen. If they did this, it was an outright lie. That all of the promotional material was just a lie. And I was like, no, I maybe it's bad information. I need to go forward with this. And then it came in Tuesday. And it was true. And then they had the Tuesday night at 12 o'clock. And we had 7 people come into the shop. Because
how many would have you expected?
Oh, dozens and dozens. RSVP'd. I had, wedding RSVP kind of things, hey, we're going to have a celebration. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have all this kind of stuff, show up.
So I expected, maybe 100, 150, maybe more.
50. I was expecting 50 to 75 at least, maybe 100. So I prepared for 100 and 6, 7, and because everybody had already heard, nobody wanted to show up. Hey, the people that arrived got some really nice door prizes.
I know. I immediately canceled my issue once I saw what was happening. I was like, I can't believe this.
Yeah, and I'd ordered 250 copies, and so that I could get the 250 incentive, and I thought, well, I'll sell at least half of those on the first day, and then over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll sell most of the others. Then I'll have some back issues for later because that'll be a hot back issue, the wedding of Batman and Catwoman. And no, that week we sold 42 copies.
So you ended up having to return 200 of them?
I ended up returning 175.
Okay, so you kept 25 for stock.
Yeah, I kept 25 yeah, for stock and to fill for people that change their minds later. You know, because we had a lot of people that said, "Well, I don't want to break the run," and I kind of thought, well, they don't really want to break their run.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk, well, maybe this might not be the last, but the last topic I really want to dive into are pull lists. On average, how much money would you say that you lose from customers who have pulls and never pick them up?
It's gotten a lot better because now that, I don't let people just hold their pull list over for more than 2 months. If you don't come within 2 months to pick up your comics, I put them back on the rack. And unless somebody lets me know ahead of time, for long-term customer, somebody like that saying, "Hey, I've got a medical problem, I can't come in for a couple months," that's fine. That's no problem there. But I still, it still happens. People like just don't show up. They stop showing up altogether. You don't know what happened to them. I try to call them up. If we try to call them, can't reach them, can't get the books, but it's still,
they're not new comics anybody. They're not hot. There might have been someone who came into your shop and wanted that comic, right?
Yeah. It's probably, I would say, it's not as bad as other shops, but probably, $500, $600 a month.
That's a lot of money for a comic shop.
That gets abandoned. That's abandoned money every month. $500 to $600 a month is abandoned money. But fortunately in those situations, it's still fairly recent comics that I can put out and sell. So it's not a complete loss, but I know shops that have kept lists for people for 6 months to a year, and keep pulling the comics, and they got long boxes of comics for customers that just never come in and pick them up. And, one thing that I did was, if somebody wants to order a specific amount, it's a large amount of comics, and they don't have a really good track record with me, or I just don't know them very well, then they have to use a credit card. We have to take their credit card information, because if you're going to put me, over my head for, $300, $400 a month, for your new subscription, you don't pick those up, I'm charging you. I'll put them in a box and you can come by and pick them up when you want.
So besides, we always hear about the people abandoning their pull list, and it costs them a lot of money. Is there one other thing that customers do that you think is out of line or really affects your business in a negative way?
Yeah. One of the things is they get their folders, and this is part of the whole thing with the pull list. Is the pull list is kind of like reservations in comics, and they'll get their folder. And we hand them their folder, and they go sit over there they go stand on one side of the counter, and they're supposed to go through, and the comics are already bagged and boarded, and it's a free service, plus along with the discount that the customers get. And one of the things they'll do is they'll like, "Well, this looks good. I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want this." And then they end up with a small stack of comics sitting over there on the side that's supposed to be what they're picking up this month, but they decide that they just don't want it, and they just leave it abandoned there on the counter. And it's like, do you still want those comics? Those are part of your pull list. "Oh, I don't really want those this month." What do you do?
It's kind of out of line. Like, then don't get a pull list. Come here on Wednesday.
Yeah, just show up on Wednesday and get the comics with everybody else. So we kind of train customers not to do that anymore. By if they start doing that and they start taking the comic out and they say, "Oh, I don't want Flash this month," they stick it over there, I'll take it off their pull list. Like, "Well, you didn't buy it last month, so I went ahead and took it off your list." And then, we'll put it back on. And if they start doing that, I just take it. We just take it off their list. It's like, I want to work with them. I'm on their side. I'm on the customer's side on everything. I'm gonna go to the wall for them. To the publishers and to Diamond and everybody else, to get them the best product I can at a discounted price. And they can be happy to get the comics that they wanted to read and they want to enjoy. Just help me out a little bit. Help me out a little bit so that I can keep providing this service to you. Don't Don't just, try to rip me off. Don't, I had this one customer that what he would do is kind of sneaky about it. He would take his folder over to the side and he would get his comics that he was going to buy, and he'd buy his comics. Then he would take his comics that he already bought, stick them over there with the folder with the comics, he hadn't purchased yet, and try to put all that together into a bag and walk out of the store with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's stealing.
Yes.
And, it's like, I've got cameras, dude. We're watching you do this. You're not being slick here, and it's just that, they're bad customers. Most customers aren't like that though. They're great people.
We're kind of running down on time. We got a couple minutes left. Is there, I try to cover as much as I could in this time, but this wasn't kind of scripted out or really thought ahead of time.
Right. Yeah.
One last thing that you wanted to talk about, before we wrap this up.
Yeah. As far as this isn't about new comics. This is about old comics, and about collect back issue comics. It's something near and dear to my heart because we're predominantly a back issue shop. We sell a lot of new comics, but they only represent about 25, maybe. Yeah, about 25% of our sales now. So most of it's back issues, and people are kind of panicking because around Christmas every year, comic values go down, and they're going down more than normal right now because the back issue market has been crazy inflated on key issues for years now. The MCU is kind of winded down. They're not into phase 4 yet. It's not going to be as good going forward. A lot of people fear, because Endgame kind of wrapped up the whole thing for them. And so people are kind of getting a little pessimistic about big key comics going forward. And I'm telling them, keep your comics. Don't sell at a loss. The market right now is already dropping 20, 25, 30% on some of these comics. And don't do that. Don't feel that you're pressured into selling these wonderful collectible comics that you've loved just because you're worried about losing value, because eventually the values will recover. This is not just a flash in the pan, thing here. Comics have been a huge hobby for decades. And these are comics that are important. They're cultural icons. Your old Amazing Spider-Mans, your old Fantastic Fours, stuff like that. These are genuinely rare, wonderful things that people are going to want generations to come. And so don't dump them now because you feel that, you're going to lose money, because you're certainly going to lose money if you do that. So hold on to them. Don't think rashly right now. Ignore what's going on as far as people panic selling and stuff like that. And wait. Just wait. It will fix itself. In fact, I'm telling people, if you have the resources right now, buy into the panic. I know there's danger of buying, of catching a falling knife, but some of these books right now are getting to a value to where you can buy books now that you couldn't buy last year. Look into that. These comics that you want your first appearance, Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, 48, 49, 50. You want that. You couldn't afford it before. Well, now you can start to afford those. You want your first appearance of Green Goblin? Go for it. Start looking at those books, figure out a price that you feel is comfortable, wait for it to kind of get down to that range, and then buy into it, knowing that in 2 to 3 years, in 1 to 2 years, not even 3, I'd say, in just a couple of years, those books are going to fully recover and they're going to start building again and reaching new ground. And you're going to look really smart when that happens. And you make 30, 40, 50%, improvements on your investments, in the span of, just a few years. So
thank you so much for joining me today, talking some shop, Pele. Really appreciate your perspective and, providing some clarity in some of the issues that retailers deal with on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, that the LCS is the heartbeat. It is the center point of comic fandom, and it holds a very special place in my heart. And I hope people look out for their LCSs, support your local comic shops, and treat your retailers well, and they'll treat you well, hopefully.
I appreciate the time. Yeah, we're your friends. We're here to help you. You know, we're not, 99% of shops out there, they just want to provide to you what you love, and you just talk to them, they'll get you what you want. And and if you do run into a shop that doesn't, there's other shops out there. It's an awesome hobby. There's not another one like it. And I know that we gripe and we complain about new comics, and this has been the case for decades. But those back issue comics that you love and everything like that, they're still there. Go out and buy the heroes, the books that you don't have yet, and enjoy those. And when the new comics come back around and they become something that you're interested in again, buy them. That's what's the great thing about comics, is that you may not like what's going on now, but just wait a few months or whatever, and something will improve, and you'll find a comic that you do like to read. But is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Nope, that'll do it. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay. You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.